Chapter 13. Penhaven College was smaller than Reese remembered, and as he and Vivi made their way across campus, it dawned on him that it was very strange a place named after his gloomy and depressing home could be this light. This cheerful, all-red brick buildings with white trim, bright lawns, and autumn leaves in bold colors everywhere he looked. "Nice place to work," he commented to Vivian, who was about 2 steps ahead of him, her low heels clicking on the brick walkway. "It is," she replied, but she was obviously distracted, looking around with these quick, darting glances, and Reese jogged a little to catch up with her. "What is it?" he asked in a low voice. "Something amiss?" She shook her head. "No, nothing I can see right now, but you're keeping an eye out, exactly." Reese looked around too, although he wasn't sure what he was looking for. There were no statues to fall on him, no cars to suddenly come careening his way. But who was to say a sudden sinkhole wouldn't open up in the ground, or that a stray tree limb might not come winging down from the heavens? The sooner they got this fixed, the better. Besides, once he wasn't cursed anymore, maybe he would stop feeling like such an utter bastard. He knew Vivian had been angry with him, furious even, and he deserved every bit of it. But that he'd hurt her badly enough that she'd done this. Fuck, that bothered him. There was a set of concrete steps just ahead of them, leading down to a white building at the base of the small hill, and Vivian stopped just on the top step, turning back to look at him. "Be careful." "With 5 steps?" She scowled, one hand on her hip. "Do I need to remind you of what's going on?" "You don't," he assured her, "but you heard what Elaine said. The curse is almost certainly doing its thing on the town now, not me. And besides, do you really think these steps are going to take me out? Do you want to hold my hand as I walk down them?" Vivian muttered something under her breath, then turned and walked down the steps, leaving Reese to follow, carefully. Reese didn't know what he'd expected Vivian's office to look like, but as he followed her down the hall of the bright and airy building that housed the history department, it occurred to him that he hadn't exactly given a huge amount of thought to anything when it came to adult Vivian. It was almost like she was frozen in his memory at 19, but now here she was, a grown woman with an office and a career. And he suddenly desperately wanted to know everything about her. "Why history?" he asked as they stopped in front of a white door with a frosted window, Ved Jones stenciled in neat black letters on the glass. "And why regular history at that?" She gave him a look as she unlocked the office door. "Why not witchy history, you mean?" Shrugging, Reese leaned against the wall. "It seems like a fair question." Vivian paused, her key still in the lock, and for a moment Reese thought she might not answer him at all. And then she finally sighed and said, "Believe it or not, I actually like regular history, and also, I don't know. I guess it's just that I spent most of my life being more or less a regular person, so that's where I'm more comfortable." With that, she pushed open the door, and after a beat, Reese followed her inside. The office was tiny, barely enough room for a desk, 2 chairs, and a slightly crooked bookshelf, but it was homey and cozy, reminding him a little of the space at the back of something wicked. There were plants and colorful posters of medieval tapestries, an electric kettle with big flowers painted on it, and on her desk, he spotted pictures of her with Gwyn and Elaine, plus a couple of shots with people he didn't recognize. He would have liked to have said he didn't check for any guys, but that would have been the most blatant of lies. He was absolutely checking to see if there was some picture of Vivi in her polka dots, some absolute bastard's arm around her waist. But no, nothing like that. "So what sort of history do you teach?" he asked, turning his attention to the bookshelf. Christ. It even smelled like her in here, that warm, soft scent that either he hadn't remembered or was new. Another part of this new Vivian he wanted to learn about. "The basics," she replied, distracted as she dug through her desk for something. "Intro to Western civilization." "Ah, so you're stuck with the first years." "We say freshmen here, and yes, although I actually like teaching them." She looked up, smiling a little. "It's nice getting to introduce kids to something you really love." He could see it then, what she must be like when she taught. The way her cheeks would flush when she got on a topic she was passionate about, the light in her eyes. Her kids must love her. "I get that," he said, nodding. "It's like when I arrange a trip for people to a place they've never been before. I love seeing their faces when they get back, love looking at the 5 million pictures they took on their phones." "Okay, well, I don't actually love that, but it's still kind of fun." Her smile widened a little, "I bet." For just a moment, they could have been 2 strangers, Reese thought. Just the people chatting about their jobs, maybe light, sussing each other out. And then, once again, he had the unsettling feeling that that's what they were, in a way. Except that she could never be a stranger, never just be some woman he fancied. And he needed to stop being distracted by her pretty eyes and lovely hair, and remember that he was cursed now. Clearing his throat, he turned back to the shelves. Right, curse. Problem to be solved. Focus on that. You have a lot of books about whales over here. Bloody hell, mate. When he glanced back over at her, he saw that Vivienne was no longer looking at him, had become very interested in something on her desk. Yes, well, that was my focus. In grad school. Llewellyn the Great, Edward the First, all of that. She met his eyes. Because of the town history. Obviously, nothing to do with you. Wouldn't dare to think it. He turned back to the shelves, thumbing through a book on the castles of the marshes, when Vivienne suddenly asked, "Do you not like it there?" Rhys put the book back, turning around. "Where? In Wales?" She nodded, and he sighed, folding his arms over his chest as he leaned back against her bookshelf. St. Boogie's balls. How could he explain to Vivienne the way he felt about his home? "I love it," he said at last. "The most beautiful place in the world, truly. Mountains, the sea, poetry, rugby. The national animal is a dragon, for fuck's sake. What's not to love?" "But you created a job for yourself where you're always traveling," she said, straightening up. "And back when we were, She tucked her hair behind one car, cheeks coloring prettily. "When we were involved, you said you never liked to visit your hometown." "Well, yes, but that's because of my father, not because of the town itself," he replied with what he hoped was a rakish grin. This conversation was beginning to skirt too close to things Rhys worked very hard not to think about, so a little rakishness was needed. And it clearly did the trick because Vivienne narrowed her eyes, but didn't press further, and after a moment, she lifted something out from underneath a pile of papers. "Okay, found my library card, so let's get you over there. It's on the way to my first class. Another trip across campus. This one shorter since the library was just up the hill from the history building, but this time, Rhys sensed something different. This part of campus looked the same as everything else, the brick, the ivy, all of that. But he could feel it in the air. Magic. Before he even asked, Vivienne nodded. "The other part of the college is here, in those buildings." She nodded at a cluster of 4 smaller classroom buildings, all grouped together underneath a copse of massive oak trees, shaded even on this bright sunny day. "When I was here, they were just mixed in the regular classrooms," Rhys said, and Vivienne rolled her eyes. "Right, well, that only worked until the first time a regular student bumbled past the wards and into a class on augury and tried to take a video of it with his cell phone. A couple of years ago, all magic classes were relocated to those buildings. Make sense?" "And the bumbling students?" Rhys asked as he watched a couple of girls in jeans and sweaters jog up the steps of one of the magic buildings. "Kept out by the same kind of repulsion spell that protects the back room of the store," Vivienne answered. "Easier to maintain and make stronger when it's over one central location, not a bunch of separate classrooms. Plus, this arrangement keeps them out of everyone's hair." They were at the library now, a building Rhys had decidedly never visited in all his time at Penhaven, and it was appropriately Gothic-looking with huge white columns and pointed windows. Still, Rhys paused outside, jerking his head back toward the magical part of the college. "You never hang out with them? Even though they're witches too?" Vivienne followed his gaze and shook her head. "No, they're... Look, you can meet them if you want, you'll see. Vivienne Jones, you snob." She snorted at that, and then gestured for him to follow her. "Come on. We might not be talking to them, but we're definitely using some of their resources.